So now that we've moved it to 18 millimeters, let's move it back to about 14 millimeters, which is the factory setting. So again, first things first, loosen this like that, put it to the back, loosen this so that it can go up and down nice and easily. Doot, doot, doot. There we go. Okay, so now that we've loosened this and this, we can change this so that we're at 14 millimeters. And you can actually see there's a pretty big, I don't know if you can actually see that, but I can see where it was sitting for when I was using this gun mostly at the original pile height. So, whoops, just about to loosen the wrong thing. Okay, so let's loosen this little screw. And again, in case you haven't watched previous videos, you want to just do 180 and then about another 90 degree, because if you over loosen this screw, the nut that it's connected to is inside the scissor block, and you'll have to take this whole thing out and take the scissors out in order to get it screwed back in. So you do not want it to uncatch from the other side. I mean, it's not a big deal, like you can do it, it's just very time consuming and frustrating. At least for me. Alright, so now that I've loosened that, I should be able to pull that up nicely. And I can kind of see where it's supposed to sit just from the kind of indents on the scissors. So that's actually 12, so it could go down a bit more. And so again, in case you haven't watched any of my other videos, I'm measuring from the flush part of these scissors to this pusher bar with my calipers. 13.9, that's almost bang on 14. Just knock it back a tiny bit more. And 13.8. It's a bit hard to do these measurements where you guys can see, because otherwise I get them a bit wrong. So I'm just going to, yeah, I'm at exactly 14, so that's beautiful. So before I go and muck this screw up, let's tighten it. Nice and tight. So it doesn't come loose. Okay, that's nice and tight. So the next step is to adjust the bar length, so that so that only the smallest Allen key fits between the foot and this pusher. So I will first, in case you haven't watched the other videos, I'm gonna push this one towards me to loosen, not away. It's gonna be, and again, we're being really careful with these screws, because if we put a lot of torque on this bar, you're going to end up warping the cogwheel. So, oops, I was going the wrong way there. Okay. There we go. And then this one to loosen, we go away from us. And that's just because we don't want to, we want the bar to stay relatively even in terms of where it is, just for balance. At least that's my preference. So you can just adjust from one end, but by the time you get up to 18 millimeters, you're gonna be really pushing the bar to its very limit. Okay, so let's just pull that in. do a couple turns on this one, and then I'll do I think I've done quite a few turns there already on both ends. Just no, should definitely go a bit smaller. I'm going to just tighten this by coming towards me. So I made quite a few changes on that, and then this one I'm just going to turn it in a little bit more, about there. That might be too far. Just put it on and see. Okay. Yeah, too far. So I need to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to do two full turns, I think that was. Put it back. Okay. I'm going to go do one full turn, and that should be as good as it's going to get. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so I will measure the bar length just so that you guys have a quick guide for this. Just gonna tighten that a little bit. It's kind of hard to tighten a lot until you've got the screw on. So let's put that on. Nice and tight. Okay, and just double check that these are tight. Oh, that one's quite still loose. So this one tightens by coming towards me. Again, gentle, you don't want to torque the cogwheel. And that one tightens by going away from me, which is pretty snug. Is this one still? No, that's pretty snug. All that would happen is if you didn't tighten these quite as much as they need to be, they'll just start, as the machine starts working, they'll vibrate and they'll start to just move, so you'll immediately know, and you'll need to stop tufting and just tighten the screws back up. Okay, so now we should be at 14 millimeters, but now we need to set the scissor opener and the scissor closer. Oh, and I said I was gonna promise you guys a measurement here, so let's just see where we're at. Okay, so I'm just gonna zero that. So we're at 41.9. Just double check that I do have that in a good spot. The bar could be definitely a little bit longer still. Okay, yeah, I felt like that measurement, when I took that measurement, it just seemed a little bit too low. It's kind of hard with this part, because it's really like, it's not until you get it all screwed back together that you can really see kind of if it's correct. So this one comes towards me very gently. Okay, I'm gonna just turn it out a little bit more. And tighten that up. Just put that up so I can see. Yeah, that's much better. I had it just too tight before. Okay, so I will tighten this up. And then we should be closer to 40, closer to 44 than 40. Okay, so now I'm just going to double check that we're at 14. Yep, 14. Check the lower bar length. That's much better. That's 43.1. And I think when I started, it was at about 44. Yeah, 43.1. Okay, so come back and we'll do the scissor opener and scissor closer. Okay, so now I am going to move the scissor opener back, oops, up, ooh. And I think I did take a measurement when I started. Opener was 18.3. So let's move it to 18.3 just to make things, give us a good starting point. Oops. It's getting a little bit stuck there. Okay. It's too far. You can see I'm just setting this to 18.3. And then we'll just kind of move that till it's where it should be about. It's probably not going to be exactly the same because the lower bar is not exactly the same either as when I started. Okay. Alright, let's see if it opens the scissors. Oh yeah, actually that's perfect. Awesome. Okay. So the last step, I should probably just make sure that's not over. Yep. Oh, that looks good. So the last thing is to make sure the scissor closure is closing the scissors. And I think it's going to need to be about closer to the top, but not quite as far up as before. Oops, I'm using the wrong Allen key. Try it about there, because I know that's kind of where it was when I started. Nope, not quite shutting. So that means it needs to go down a bit. So just wiggle it down. Up there, try that. And yeah, it's closing, but it's just closing. So I would probably go a little bit lower, just an increment lower. And it would be helpful to use the right Allen key. Just try there. Oh, beautiful. That's closing really nicely. It doesn't need to close quite that much, but I prefer it when it's nipping really cleanly. So that's my preference. Alright, so let's measure where that is at. So the scissor opener is, and this will be a negative measurement as opposed to a positive one. All right, that's at negative 2.4 millimeters. As opposed to when we were at 18, I think where are we at? We're in the positive. Yeah, we're plus 1.6, so now we're negative 2.4 millimeters. Okay, and I could probably move it up to about, when I started it was at, probably move it up to like about -2, and it would probably close the scissors a little less aggressively. But I like that. I think that looks great. So I will test that, and that's basically getting it pretty much back to factory settings. When I have more tufting guns, I'll measure all the factory settings exactly, so you definitely know how to get it back to the right spot. Okay, and it's good to keep in mind that, you know, every every seller has a different supplier. We have the original AK1 and AK2, and they're generally all made about the same and come with the same factory settings. So if you've gotten it from us, then you can definitely follow our measurements. If you're getting it from another supplier, I don't suggest following our measurements. I just suggest following the technique. All right.